Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Eva Maria Foltz. I'm a fine art portrait photographer. I work mostly in studio, and today I'm going to take you through my workflow for a senior portrait session that I did. The gown is from Your Fairy Godmother Couture, which is a dress rental program with really beautiful gowns. You should check her out. She's got a free Facebook group. If you just look up Your Fairy Godmother Loves Photographers, that you'll be able to see that group. It's for professional photographers only, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The crown is from Amazon, and the model is one of my friends that I have been following for, I think the first time I worked with her, she was 12 or so. So we've been working together for a couple of years, and I just really love working with her. She's super beautiful. She's got this classic timeless beauty, and let's get into it. So I have been putting off recording, and I kind of already started it a little bit, but I fortunately saved all my layers, so you'll be able to see kind of what I did so far. The first thing that I did was I did a background by Barbara MacFerrin. She is one of my favorite fine art photographers, and she has a bundle of backdrops that you can embed into your portraits. So I purchased this from her a couple years ago, and I use it pretty often. So that's what that looks like. The second thing that I did was I adjusted the color balance for her hair, and that's kind of without the hair and the, the hair. And I kind of took that onto the backdrop as well. And then I went ahead and adjusted the color balance. I'll show you what I did. I just played around with it to kind of bring out the tones in her hair. And I also wanted to kind of get the tones from her hair and the wardrobe into the backdrop. As you can see, without any of the color adjustments, it already kind of has some reds in there, so that's why I chose this one. And there we go. If you don't know how to embed a texture onto an image, I can definitely do a video about that. It's really easy. I can just show you right now, actually. So you're going to go to File. Well, first you're going to work off your background. Pretend this isn't there. File, Place Embedded. And then you go to your texture, whichever one you want to do. I did this one. And you're going to size it. It's running a little slow because I'm recording on my computer. Just crop it there. And then you're going to change the effect on the photo. So you could really like mess around with these. You don't have to do these, but most of the time you're going to either do overlay or soft light. Obviously, since I already have the photo on there, it doesn't look that great. But then once you choose, I did soft light. Once you choose that, you're going to mask it, and you're going to Command I on a Mac, and you're going to invert it. And then basically you'll be able to just take your white brush and paint it wherever you want. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this layer because I don't need it. And this is the photo. I didn't even get rid of the wrinkles or anything. I probably should have, but I just wanted to do this photo and I didn't feel like messing with it. And then that's what we're working with right now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do some retouching. So I'm just going to copy that layer. So the good thing about zooming in this much is I can see if I like missed some of the texture that I want to get rid of, which I definitely did. And it honestly, like, I know that you should probably take time to make sure it's perfect, but I leave my work a little unperfect. And nobody zooms in on your pictures at, how zoomed am I? 141%. Nobody's going to be looking at it unless you're like going for competition or printing. which I actually do print my portraits, but this wasn't client work. So I don't have to worry about this being big on somebody's wall. And I also have ADHD, so I go on little side quests all the time. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to try to stay on topic. So there's a couple of different things that you can do for retouching, and everybody kind of has their own preference. For me, I always try the spot healing brush first because it's the easiest way for me. And I'm really just going to take away acne. We'll just do some basic retouching since she is pretty young, and we're going for a more kind of just like touched up, not perfect look, because I don't think it's necessary, one. And two, I just feel like this is not the kind of portrait where you want to do really, really high-end, perfect skin retouching. As you can see, the spot heal brush is not perfect, and I probably should be dodging these areas instead. I just don't want to remove too much texture. Let's see. And I'm definitely not a retouching master. I have been a fine art photographer. Basically, the whole time I've been doing photography, it's why I started. I wanted to take pictures that look like paintings. And people, I think it's about how you edit sometimes. And actually, it's more about how you light the portrait and styling, of course. So if your lighting and styling are not in synchrony, then it doesn't really matter how you edit it. It's just going to look edited, if that makes sense. Like, there's a certain style that I don't really think it's that big anymore, where it's like the oil painting kind of style. If you're a photographer and you've been a photographer for a while, you probably know what I'm talking about. And it's really pretty, and it looks, it has, I don't know. I do like the way that it looks, and I used to think that that was kind of fine art. But this kind of fine art is more planned before you edit it, if that makes sense. And you can see I have to go and edit some of this because she did not have her nails groomed, which is fine. She's a teenager, and nobody's gonna really look too close, but as you can see, the spot healing brush is not what I probably should be using right now, but I'm just feeling... Oh, actually, I can show you an example of what people use for that kind of older style of fine art painterly look with like children specifically. It's popular. It's the Greater Than Gatsby actions. You can see that I purchased them here, and I do really like them for some stuff still. Sometimes if I have wrinkles in clothes or the hair texture is really nice, I can use it for that. But you can kind of see there's like color grading tones in here. There's texture, and I would show you, but it will flatten my image. But these are like the heavy paint textures and stuff. That used to be really popular. I mean, it might still be popular. I just don't do it anymore. I'm gonna flatten my image, okay? Don't work like me, but I just have to be honest. Like, I am very destructive when I work. All right. But yeah, this is one of the packs, and then this is the second pack. I bought a bundle, and I bought this probably like 4.5 years ago, and I used to use these a lot. The one thing about them is, like I was saying about flattening the image, these are destructive. I don't know if there's a way around flattening the image. I don't think that there is. Okay, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some dodge and burn. And I am left-handed, by the way, so all of my settings are probably backwards to what yours are. So hopefully that doesn't bother anyone. All right, so for this, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Oh, too much. And I'm just going to kind of even out that highlight right here. Make it not so stark. So I keep my opacity pretty low when I'm doing this because you can always build it up. And just kind of brightening the natural highlights on the photo. You can actually change the shape of somebody's face with this technique. So, because you're kind of altering where the light is hitting their facial structure, like their bones and everything. So you want to be, if you're trying to go for a natural look, you want to be like pretty light-handed. And then I'm going to go in where this little acne patch is. And just going to lighten it a little bit. Instead of using the healing patch tool like I was, because you can see it didn't quite get rid of what I needed it to. I don't want to ruin the texture of her face, so I'm just super lightly. I'm also using a Wacom tablet, so I'm just very light pressure on the pen, kind of going through these areas and just lightly lightening them. Probably go right here. And you probably want to do different layers for different, I guess, retouching with the dodge and the burn. Like if you're retouching the acne, for example, you want to have an acne layer. If you're retouching, you know, like lightening the eyes or whatever, you want to have a different layer for that, just to kind of stay organized, and then you can fix your work if needed. I should be doing that. I'm just seeing if there's any more. I'll just kind of go over this area with a bigger brush. And just blend that out. Just slightly. Okay. And there's a spot right here. I'm going to actually decrease the size a little bit more. See this right here? I'm just gonna take this and just go over the darkness here just a little bit. It's also like a mixture of freckles and her natural skin texture. So you don't need to be perfect unless you're doing like a high fashion editorial kind of shoot. Plus, I'm going to be using Portraiture, and I'm going to be using Portraiture on her skin, which will soften the texture a little bit. All right, this layer, you should name your layers, by the way, but for me, I turn them on and off. This one, I'll turn it on and off so you can see. I just kind of overall lightened some stuff on her face. It made the acne on her chin, like the kind of scars, a little less visible, but they're still there. I mean, they're not completely gone. And then now I'm going to go in, and this brush is going to be for the highlights kind of around her, like so the light is hitting right here, right here, right here. We're going to give some more light right here on the side, right here. You see this bone right here? It's being hit. right there on her collarbone. There's a little bit of light on her shoulder right here I want to accentuate. Get rid of some of these shadows right here. Kind of fill that in. Now we're going to go onto her dress and just kind of go over the highlights. I want to be careful because with highlights you don't want to distract from what you want people to look at first. For me, with this portrait, I want people to look at her face. So when I'm going through and doing these, I'm just keeping that in mind, not to distract from her face, but just add like a little bit of that fine art kind of lighting, like enhance it, I guess. For this portrait, I used one light, and it was actually in front of her to camera right. And it was pointed, it was about, I would say 4 feet away from her, and it was pointed past her, so it wasn't pointed directly at her. Otherwise, you'll get really bad hot spots if you point a light directly at somebody, unless you are going for like a beauty portrait where you want the face to be very bright. I wanted everything to be kind of like a softer light, and I had a huge umbrella. I think it's like 70 inches or something. And I just wanted it to be like a soft light on her. So now I'm just going through. I really love her hands. They're not as soft as some hands could be. She has like, I don't know. I like her hands. I'm going to have to color correct them though, because her skin is naturally very red undertones, and her hands were most red, but you can kind of see the red tones kind of peeking out in certain areas, but her hands were really red, and I think for redheads that's pretty common. So I have her leg, one of her legs, she's got her toes, like her leg is bent on the toes to kind of add some shape here, because we're kind of forming some points, right? So a diagonal here, and then there's, you know, another point right here, and then her head is kind of at the top of the triangle, and that's how I pictured it anyway. Maybe it's not technically correct. I honestly don't know what I technically should do for portraits. I just do what I think looks nice. I don't have like a master photographer or certified professional photographer trophy or whatever. I just like what I do, and other people like it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. But that's how I imagine it anyway. It's just a triangle. So I had her point her leg just like this, but I don't want it to be too bright. One time I submitted a portrait to the Portrait Masters, and I did the kind of a similar pose. And one of the judges' feedback was the light that caught on the dress that the model was wearing was a little bit distracting. It was a little bit bright. And only one judge said that, but it kind of stuck with me now. So when I say I don't do accreditations for like professional photographers of America, I do like competitions and getting feedback from photographers in competitions. I'm kind of selective about, you know, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, because if somebody critiques something that you did intentionally and it works or it doesn't work, then that's your prerogative. But what people tell you is still valid. You just have to decide if it's valid for you. So maybe I disagreed with the light on the leg being distracting because I did it intentionally, but maybe it's something that I could take note of, like I do now, and get better from it, or take into account that next time I submit, somebody might be looking for that, or that maybe it is distracting. Maybe this leg here is distracting. Maybe I should, and maybe I will, kind of tone down the the brightness of this area of the dress. But I kind of just figure it out as I go, and what I think looks nice, then if I submit something, I'm proud of it, and I'm excited always for doing better the next time. Right now, I am actually darkening certain areas of the dress where there's naturally shadows already. I'm not adding any more shadows, but I'm kind of accentuating the ones that are there already. I'll darken these, even though they're wrinkles. They kind of add like a nice little texture. And I'm going to make this pretty small and just kind of go in here and darken these. And you can be really detailed about this. I am being pretty fast because, like I said, if you turn something on and off and you feel like it doesn't make a big difference, then you're probably better off without it. Sometimes things make small differences and are necessary, but for something like this, I'm really just not focused on it too much. Just want to make sure that they're just a little more accentuated in the main areas where there's shadows. I've never done a video before like this, and I don't really know if anybody's going to watch it, but I just wanted to try because when I started out with fine art, as I said earlier, I was really looking at people who were doing that kind of there's a filter right here. Where is it? Stylized. And then there's oil paint, which I can't click on right now because I'm on a curved layer, but that's really what that fine art, what I thought fine art was. And if I would have found like Barbara MacFerrin or Johnny Edward, who's another really great fine art photographer, he also does like great editorial work, I wouldn't have stuck doing that. Even though I didn't do it for too long, I would have kind of done better. So if I can help somebody else know that the most important thing, in my opinion, about fine art photography is not about the editing, it's about the base, which is the styling and the lighting. Everything has to match the vibe of what you're doing. Because if you're just throwing some oil paint filter on a photo of a child in contemporary clothing and, you know, whatever trend makeup is in right now, it's going to have a different appeal than what you're thinking. And you're like, I would sit there and I'd be like, this is nice, but this just isn't this doesn't look high end to me. This doesn't look like what I imagined I'd be doing. So take it from me, or don't. Okay, this is with turning the mask on and off. Okay, I'm gonna do one more layer now of here you go. Okay. Okay, so for this, you can see the reflector, the softbox is in her iris, which ideally you don't want, or I don't want, but that's, so like, for me, the eyes are like the most important thing, and the fact that that's kind of in the middle of her eye is not, it ruins the picture for me. Because the light placement in the eye is where the life of the photo is. And if you have, for example, no light in the eyes, then there's no life in the photo. And it just doesn't have the same effect. So for me, the fact that the light is in the middle of the iris or in the pupil, then it looks a little haunted to me, I guess. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the light right in the middle. That's an error. That's why I'm saying, like, fine art portraits is very technical. And as far as like your clients go, they're not going to be like, oh, the light is in the middle of the pupil. That's not technically good. But when you do want to grow and learn and you submit this, like if I was to submit this to the portrait masters, I bet that there would be a judge who would say, you know, I wish the light wasn't in the middle of her eyes. I wish it was, you know, off to the center. I wish you would have put it a little higher. And this is retrospect, or hindsight is 2020, right? Like I can't go back in time and move the light. I could have done that at the time. And now that's something I'm going to take note of in the future. But here we are. And just as a reminder, please do not flatten your image like I do. Just don't do it. Love yourself more than I love myself. Okay? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run my image through Portraiture. Okay, I just ran my image through Portraiture, and Portraiture is good, but it doesn't, like, it fixes minor skin coloring issues and also like makes a really nice texture on the photo. But I like to mask some of it off in the eye area because it just decreases the sharpness of the eyes in a way that I don't really like. So just mask some of it off with a white brush. Oh, with a black brush, sorry, on a white, because we don't want to invert it. We want to keep it other places. So when you don't invert it, you keep the mask white and you use a black brush. It just paints it off on those areas. I like to just get it off right in the middle of the lips and the nostrils. And then, let's see. Let's see if there's anywhere else I want to paint it off. So this is before and after. I'm going to mask it off a little bit more right here. Let's see, before and after. Before, after. I really like Portraiture's texture. There's a couple of programs that you can use to accomplish that. You could do it yourself. You can use frequency separation. In order, I usually dodge and burn Portraiture, and then sometimes I do frequency separation before Portraiture, but it depends on the level of retouching I'm going for. Frequency separation is really good for blending certain things, like there's a difference of color right here and right here. So if I did frequency separation, you'd have to do it all over the skin though. You can't just do it in one area. So you're going to make 2 different copies and you're going to hide the top copy for now. Then you're going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And you're just going to do it enough. Let me actually zoom out before I do this so you can see. Let me move this out of the way. How do you move this? Put you like over here. All right, you're gonna go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And this is with almost nothing. So you want to do it until you get soft details, but not no details. Like this is way too much. Everything is way too soft. But you see, like, let me turn it down. See, like, the difference in color, like right here, right here, right here, those 2 different colors. You want to kind of turn that up until it's not so noticeable. but you don't want to lose details either. So just kind of find a nice medium. Something, since I'm going like more natural, I just want to keep it nice and soft of a blur. Okay, so I applied that, and now I'm going to turn this back on, which will make it go away. And then go to Image, Apply Image, and you're going to go to that layer that you did the Gaussian blur on, which is layer 1, and you're going to do the subtract blending at the scale of 2 and offset of 128. As I learned from the person who I learned this from, just do it. Somebody much smarter than us determined that's how you do it, so that's what we do. Then you're going to go into a linear light, go back on click, select layer 1, and then you're going to take your lasso tool with as much feathering as you'd like. I'll do a feathering of 10 maybe, I don't know, I haven't. And then you're just going to kind of, select all of the skin areas that you want. So I don't want the eyebrows. And then I usually do like a couple different selections, but I don't like to do the nostrils or the eyebrows or any like hair. I'll just kind of stop it right there. And then you go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur again. And I just want to show you what happens when you turn it too high. You see how it's very, I mean, it'll turn silver if you see how it's like graying out. And yeah, I know photographers who basically keep it like this and think it's like, oh yeah, that looks normal. But I'll just show you. You can see it still has texture, which frequency separation is really good for. It separates the texture onto a different layer basically. But not like that. That doesn't look human. So this is almost all the way turned down. You can see the natural texture that she has. And we just want a little smoothing. Let's see how that looks. Okay. I realized that I forgot to do the eyelid in that one. Oops. Let's get underneath this, in the area we stopped at. And then we will exclude this eye. Okay, and then I don't like to put the lips in because I don't think the lips have texture, especially on her. Her lips don't have much texture. Blur, Gaussian blur, and let's see. So that's how the skin looks right now. And then we'll do the same thing. Now you can do everything at one time if you like want to and you figure like it works well for you. I just like to break things up as I can adjust how it affects it. Why are you here? Go away. I don't know why that thing always pops up. Okay. Select this. It's a little, as you can see, like it's a pretty tedious process to do this, but it is like something you kind of have to figure out your own workflow for. So for me, my workflow is chaotic because I'm a Sagittarius. I'm just kidding. I feel like it makes sense that I'm a Sagittarius and chaotic, but I also am just I'm taking responsibility for my own chaos here. Mercury in retrograde has nothing on me when I'm editing in Photoshop. You can get like a couple loose hairs in there. Let's see how that looks like. Gaussian blur. Okay, that's not bad. Now I'm gonna do her hands. As you can see, she's got like these really beautiful hands. Well, I think they look beautiful. I'm just gonna Should probably be more precise than I am. Oops, what did I do? Did I accidentally apply it already? Yeah. So blur, Gaussian blur. That looks nice. And then I'm going to start on this hand. Oops. And then we're going to do filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It just creates like a nice kind of even texture to the skin. I don't know how to explain it. I'm also going to try it on the dress. Remember those wrinkles I was talking about earlier? There's a bunch of different ways you can do stuff in Photoshop, but let's see how it looks when I do some frequency separation on these wrinkles. Now, alternatively, you can make a whole new frequency separation batch. You can make the original layer have more of a Gaussian blur and it will have a stronger effect. But let's just see what happens. Work smarter, right? While we're here. All right. So as you can see, it kind of adds like a little motion blur feel to it. I don't know if that's better. So let me turn it off and on. I feel like it adds a little bit of a nice texture to it. Let's see how it looks. I'm going to zoom out. I think it's one of those things where it didn't really make enough of a difference for me to I'm gonna Command Z. Okay, so that's no Gaussian blur. And this is with. I think it adds like a kind of a nice texture on it. I don't know. I'm going into this blind with you guys so you can get like a real authentic experience. I think sometimes when you watch YouTube videos of people editing, it's like they're responsible and smart and they made a plan of what they're gonna do. But I have to get to know the photo and like the set that I'm doing, and then I can make them all match, and like after the first photo it goes much quicker, like much more quickly. Whoops. But to start, it's always it takes a lot longer. And this is a genuine kind of like first impression. How am I gonna edit this photo? Just get like a couple more pieces. Okay. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And that's where it's at. And that's too much. We'll keep it right there. All right. So that's where we're at with this portrait. I'm gonna flatten it. Don't be like me. Pretend you don't see this. If you're a real retoucher or a photographer that has their life together, don't come for me. You can scold me. It's fine, actually. My best friend scolds me all the time. She does retouching and she's like, I mean, it has bit me in the butt a couple times that I do this, but I'm the type of person where like, if I'm so far into the photo that flattening the image has like ruined any chance of fixing what I really messed up on, then like it's a sign that I should just start all over. I'm pretty at peace with it. The next step is I'm trying to decide if I should get rid of this. Let me make another layer. Let's see what you do. Let's see if you can get rid of this. Let's see how it looks anyway. Let's see. How does that look? mean, it's kind of messy, but just pretend it's not. There's something nice about it there, right? Kind of like leans you into the image a little bit. Is it distracting? I don't know. This is the part that I knew I was going to get stuck at. I was putting off deciding if I should remove it or not. I can't decide. Okay, for now we'll just leave it. She can stay. She lives to see a few more minutes. Oh, come on. Sometimes my Wacom pen, I think I need to get a new one. It like clicks things that I didn't mean to click on. All right. Now, because I've color graded this far, I'm trying to decide if I should use a color grading plugin or filter that I have called EXPOSUREX7. We'll just turn it on and see what some options are. I really love this for some really nice color grades. Some of my favorite photographers introduced me to this. Barbara MacFerrin has a really good video on, it used to be called Alienskin, and now it's called EXPOSUREX7. She has a really good video on how easy it is to use this. As you can see, there's like 100 different like effects that you can put in here. That's kind of nice. I feel like I always go pretty boring, like the safe choice with these, but there's some really cool ones in here. Like that's really cool. I like that, but I don't know if I'd ever choose it. I tend to play it pretty safe, but there's some cool stuff in here. Scratched up kind of effect. I love this one. I just love dark photos. I don't know. I love like the moodiness of some of these, and I don't know which one I'm gonna pick. I'm just kind of exploring through it. It's kind of fun to just see the preview, and I don't know. In a way, for me, it's kind of makes my decisions easier as far as color grades go, because I can see it in so many different color grades. And it also, you know, affects the light features like contrast and highlights and shadows. Everything is kind of adjusted for you with these. That's really pretty. So one thing you can do is you can favorite the ones that you like. Obviously, this one's already favored. I use this one often. I really like it. And another good thing, for example, this, you see how it's very bright. You can actually adjust the whites in the photo so it's not so harsh. You can also lessen the opacity of it so it doesn't have such a strong effect on the portrait. That's really pretty. I'll save this one to my favorites too. A lot of these are inspired by film. So you'll see like Fuji Pro 800Z. It's inspired by a film. Some of these are discontinued. Oops, I just bumped the mic. Some of these are discontinued films. So it's cool. You can get kind of that vintage aesthetic. So there's like low contrast options too. I love contrast. There's already a lot of contrast in this photo. So when you remove the contrast, it looks like completely different. It's like a completely different vibe than you can tell what I was going for this whole time. But if you're more of a kind of light and airy type of person, then there's filters in here for you. I would compare these to presets in a way, except I'm trying to figure like how they're different than presets. Because I know that they're under the filter category, right? Which presets are filters, as much as that'll probably make people like guffaw to hear. I mean, they're basically filters, but I actually don't know. Are these different than presets? I don't know. I think they work the same essentially, just in Photoshop, which you can use presets in Photoshop as well. I never use them in Photoshop, but I think they'd be under filters. just like this is. There's so many different options. I really like that. That's pretty. And then, oh, there's also like frames in this, which I like too. I mean, frames and textures and grain. I guess that's how it's different from presets, is it comes with like preset frames that you could take off. It's a little bit more like an advanced preset, like a little bit more technical than just a regular preset. Let me know if you like any of these and I didn't pick it. So these are like color focuses, so they mess with the different colors in the portraits. This is like a glamour shot effect, which is cool for certain vibes. You can obviously turn the opacity up and down, but it's a pretty cool effect. You can sharpen stuff. You can add blues and yellows like as a focus, teals. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff in here besides just the overall filters. You can add like seasons, color settings. Whoops, did I just go all the way to the top? I did. So there's like little touch-ups that you can do. You can do background touch-ups, red eye touch-ups. I didn't mean to have that on the whole time. So this is something that I just made as a preset with just the frame. There's like really pretty black and white ones actually that I don't even think I had open to look at, but there's a lot of black and white options. But this gives me like 90s portrait vibes. I don't know. Black and white is, I'm pretty particular about black and whites. But there's a whole black and white section that are really beautiful. I just think with the backdrop, it's giving JCPenney's black and white portrait. I don't know. Maybe that's not, that's just for me, I think. These are some of the favorites that I have. So these are ones that I use a lot. You can see like the effects are really pretty. That's the like glow. I think so far I like this one best, but with the highlights turned down and the exposure. The exposure, the highlights, the whites. And I think I turned it down like right there. And then maybe I'll even up the shadows a little bit. And the blacks. And let's see what it looks like with some vibrance added. I think I might do that separately because I don't want the whole thing vibrance. I think I'm going to make her dress and her skin and her hair a little more, and then I have to go back in and fix her hands, the color in her hands I forgot about. Yeah, I don't really like grain that much. Maybe like a little bit for this one. Like maybe that is good. That's probably a very unpopular take. I think a lot of people can't do a photo like without grain, but for me, my portraits, I think because I'm used to printing them like pretty large, and if you have a lot of grain when you print large portraits, it just kind of doesn't hit the same. I don't know. All right, now I'm going to flatten it. Don't do this. Again, I'm not advocating for flattening your images every 5 minutes, okay? And then I am going to fix the color of her hands. And I'm going to select the hands. Just the hands, just so I don't have to worry so much about masking and everything, because then it will just only affect this portion. And oh, a little bit more right there. Oh no. And then I'm going to just kind of clean up the selection a little bit. Clean this up in here. That should be fine. Okay, now I'm going to take a color balance layer. So the hands have magenta and red in them. So you can see the magenta right here. Let's turn it down maybe right here. Okay. And then if we add some blue or red, see the red is in her hands too. You can see where it gets worse. But the problem that I'm facing now is they look a little out of place, right? Okay. I'm going to try a screen and then lowering the opacity a little bit. Before, after, a little bit more. That's too much. What I'll probably do, that looks good, and then what I'll probably do is take a curves layer and mask it. So we'll invert it, and then I'll take my brush with a white brush, and I'll just go over where I feel like it's a little too bright. Like right there. There's just certain areas where I feel like it's too bright. I feel like that's better, right? Let me group it. So you Command G and add these to a group. You see? So this was before I did the color balance adjustment. Basically, I forgot to explain that since her hands are red, magenta, you want to move the slider to the opposite color. So the opposite of magenta is green. That's why the slider's on the opposite end. Slide it to green to cancel out red or magenta. And then the opposite of red is like that light blue. So add a little bit of blue, opposite of, I guess it'd be easier to like show you the thing. So the opposite of this darker blue is yellow. So you're working off of like the color wheel, and it kind of shows it for you. So you don't even have to think about it that deep. So I think I want to like make it a little darker because the light naturally hit it a little bit, oops, a little bit darker. Okay, let's just darken this up a little bit more, just so it's not so bright. Okay, let's see how that looks. Does that look good? Me asking nobody. Feel like it looks better. Let me know in the comments. I think also when you look at something before and then you look at it after, it's way more noticeable. So that's why for me it looks a little silly. And about now is probably the time where I should stop looking at my computer screen, take a 10-minute break, and go refresh my eyes and then come back to it. So I'm going to do that right now. In video land though, it will be no pause, but just know I'm going to go take a 10-minute break. Okay, I'm back. And looking at it with brand new eyes, I do like the way that it looks. It's still a little red, I think. I don't know if I'm just noticing that because of, let me see if I turn this. Yes, I think that's much better. Should I add a little bit more green? Let's see. And then, let's see, let me mess with this a little bit more. Let me just hide it one more time. Yeah, that definitely looks better. Okay, so now I'm going to take that, curves. If you're looking for like kind of a little, I don't like the shape of that actually, but I'm going to show you how to make a little halo. I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but while we're here, I think I want it to be a little bit more round. I try to keep my curves when I raise them on the graph. I don't know if it really matters or not, but I don't know. Maybe somebody smarter than me knows. But like I said, for me, I just vibe. If the vibe feels right, then I feel the vibe, you know? So, since this is on an inverted black mask, since we only applied it to the elliptical marquee tool, we're going to take the brush. We're going to make a black brush since where it's not affected is black, and I want to not affect this area. I have to turn this up a little bit. And I have my brush on soft round pressure opacity almost 100% of the time, because otherwise it just makes too harsh of a line. And I just go over it a couple times if necessary. Then I'll go back and clean that up. I'll zoom in and clean it up a little bit, but I don't even know if I'm going to keep it. So when you first apply something, you can be a little bit messier if you're not going to keep it, because then imagine you spend all that time really cleaning something up and then you just decide that you don't want it anyway. Because while you have your layer, you can always go back and adjust it. You can always clean it up. What do you think? Do you like this little elliptical marquee halo thing? I kind of like it. I don't know. Sometimes what I do is I save a version with the halo and a version without. And sometimes people never know which one existed first or if one existed at all. And then I take it to some of my colleagues, and not online. Do not post anything online for feedback, okay? Because you're going to still, no matter what, you're going to look at the negative comments, and those are the ones you're going to really see. You know, just if somebody gives you negative feedback, make it from somebody whose opinion you already know that you value. Because maybe people who give you negative feedback, they know what they're talking about. Their insight is valuable, but if you don't know them, then you don't know that, you know? So just make feedback count. Make it from somebody worth getting your feelings hurt by. Or if you're me, I ask my husband sometimes, like, what do you think of this? Do you like this? And he's like, yeah, I like that. But he doesn't know what he's talking about. So like he looks at it, he's like, I like the picture. But he doesn't know if it's technically a good picture or not. So make sure you're not just asking like a random person. Ask somebody who knows what they're talking about, or at least is in a similar field as you. A creative field, a painter, somebody who draws, somebody who knows colors. I kind of like it. It's giving saint. I don't know. I think okay, I'm going to keep it. Well, first I'm going to go up. I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to fix this little area that got brushed off with a white brush because we want to put back the color that we took out. Again, white over here because we brushed off too much. I say we, I mean I brushed off too much, knowing I could just go back in and fix it. Okay. Okay, now the question I have next to myself is, do I want to add a frame? Nope. That's better. All right, and now we'll select inverse. Oh, shoot. Select inverse. And then we'll do solid color. And let's do it like based off of this hue. Should we do black? Is black the moment? I feel like this is one of those situations where if I don't see an immediate improvement, then I probably should just not. I think white is too distracting because there's not a lot of whites in there. Like this brown is kind of nice. Right? File, export as, and just so you know, the quality, you can keep it where it is. You don't need to bump it up all the way. It really doesn't make a difference, but I do, because if we've learned anything from this video, it's don't do what I do. And for this, I'm going to keep the sizing at full size, because you never know. And we'll do Emma, and we'll put her in model calls, and we'll do Emma 6. I probably don't have 6 photos of her. And also, don't save your file names like me. Just don't be me, okay? All right, so now that we have that, now, okay, for social media, you're going to go to image size, and you're actually going to size this as a 72 dpi. You're going to export as, and then on the long side, which in this case would be 8256, we're going to go 2048. And we're going to export that as Emma 6 social media. And if you plan on using this, for example, on your website, you're going to want to name them more strategically. So this would be Senior Portrait Photographer, Augusta, Georgia, 6. Just because SEO purposes, you want Google to know what this is a picture of. This is a picture of a senior portrait photographer's work. All right. And now we're going to undo that and keep this. I think I'll keep the frame though. For me, I just, like I said, I think I'm going to title this video, Don't Do What I Do. Okay, we'll keep this full size. Export, Emma, no halo, full size, 6. Maybe if I spell her name right. Save. Okay, and now I'm going to do a social media size. So image size, we're going to do 72 dpi, which this is important for printing, okay? Otherwise, your clients don't know, you don't need to ask your clients, oh, what DPI would you like? you give if you deliver images to a client and you don't do prints, you can size them for them. It depends on your structure. I prefer to size things for my clients, but it's kind of part of your job to make sure that your photos look good if you care about them looking good. You know what I mean? Okay, we're going to export this at 72 dpi. This is the social media, and we're going to do 2048. Emma, no halo, social media 6. I feel like the halo looked better. I don't know. I'm just taking you guys through the ride with me. We'll see. Okay, just for reference, this is the before right here. I guess I can't draw on it, but this is the before and this is the after. Same image, just a little, you know, a little something something on it. I think I'm gonna go with the halo. Let me know if you think I should have picked the other one though. All right, here's halo versus no halo. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you think I picked the right one, because I think I'm gonna go with this one. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up, give me positive feedback, or things that I could adjust and change to make these more interesting. But I hope you enjoyed this. I do have some behind the scenes of the set for this when I was actually taking the portraits. So let me know if you'd like to see that. I can definitely do another video that includes the setup and the kind of preparation for this portrait of Emma for her senior portraits. Okay, have a great day. Bye.